I'm meeting the tutor friends today, so excited!
Check out the oh-so-simple London Tube map. We're going to be meeting at this train stop right here, the St. Pancras International. As online tutoring business owners, getting together for a work session is so motivating because we're able to brainstorm content ideas, boost morale, and just talk about life in general. Since UK students have to pass exams that include poetry work, fellow English tutor Natalie Chama asked me to comment on a problem.
So why do you think some teenagers don't like poetry?
Poetry is not direct, like reading a regular novel. Poetry is not prose that we're used to, and I think most importantly, poetry is not how kids or even adults speak on a daily basis. When we speak to our friends, family, co-workers, peers, whatever, you are speaking just as I am now, in a casual way, in a clear, coherent way. So we tend to be familiar with how we speak. Like we text how we talk, right? When kids are writing, they have to be trained how to write academically, because otherwise you're just going to sound like casual. So poetry is up for interpretation. People don't always like that. They're like, I don't know if that means, does the word about the rose, are they talking about love, or is it just talking about a rose? It can be frustrating for students.
So how did you feel about poetry when you were in school? Did you like it?
I didn't really like poetry until the teacher made it interesting. Like when we spent time with it, I realized, you know what, I appreciate a good rhyme, because we start by reading, kids' books, Dr. Seuss, you think rhyming's kind of cute, but then you get up to higher level like Shakespeare sonnets and you realize, oh, this is harder. So when the teacher allows you to do group projects with it, as long as the teacher's doing a good job with it, which I had some really good English teachers, I would begin to like it. And plus like Edgar Allan Poe or some of the, like Emily Dickinson, some of those that you just hear a lot. I know those are American authors, but you come to like what you get more familiar with. So that's why if kids don't like poetry, it's just because they're not spending a lot of time with it. They want to read it and understand it right away because we're all impatient, right? So the other thing, that they not only have to interpret it, but you also have to have those literary devices. Like you've got alliteration, you have consonants, you've got end rhyme, internal rhyme. There's all these things going on. So a part of you wants to read the poem and just mostly interpret it like you would a piece of art. But then when you have to analyze it, sometimes it can take the fun out of it. So if you're reading poetry for fun, you're probably not really highlighting and making notes on the side, but unless you really like doing that kind of thing. So I think if you do it a few times, you're able to look at a poem and say, okay, I know what I'm doing here. But people don't want to take the time because it's hard to do that on your own. You need to have like a proper guide, like a good tutor.
Yes. So with parents, how they can better support their child. Obviously you mentioned getting a tutor. Is there any other ways that they could better support their child with poetry or English in general?
I think a lot of parents that I've spoken to feel, because they're so far away from their school days, they sometimes feel like, oh, I'm not sure, I haven't done that, it's been a long time. So instead of worrying about their lack of information, their lack of knowledge with it, just parents should try to tell the students, hey, poetry is great. Don't be afraid of it. It's just another way to stretch your mind or do something like you're a little bit uncomfortable with. Or pick a genre, like a parent could say, let's find some love poems. People like that. Or let's find a humorous poem or short. If parents can get their kids to at least look at a book of short poems, or maybe go back to your childhood and say, what are those poems, like nursery rhymes that you would read as a kid? There's no shame in going back to those old things and saying, hey, when you're a kid, you just thought it was funny, but now go back, somebody who wrote this poem actually really had to think it through. They didn't just write it down. When they wrote it, they put a lot of thought and effort into it.
Look at this list of poems. For their GCSEs, UK students are required to pick one of these, understand its message, and analyze it by writing a response. The better their answers, the higher their score. How can this be done, especially if your student is anxious about poetry? Contact me today through email or by scheduling a free online consultation through our website link, which is posted in the video's description box. Hiring an experienced tutor such as myself can increase your child's GCSE outcome and reduce their fears. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more of this type of content.